Hello everybody, it's Mike Andrew once again providing a short video with practical insights as it applies to business and leadership. Today I'm going to bring things up a little bit and I'm going to talk about the board of directors. And why am I doing that? Because even at the board level, what you'll find is that the fundamental leadership practices still apply. They still apply the same way whether you're a VP, first level manager, non-manager, whatever. Fundamental leadership practices. First, let me tell you where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the perspective of having been on two boards, having been on an advisory board, and having been an advisor to three corporate boards. So I've had a little bit of experience observing the dynamics of what happens with corporate boards. And as you can imagine, people that are on boards, they typically have a pretty successful and distinguished career, which is why they were asked to be on the board, to provide guidance to the CEO and so forth. So let me explain what I mean when I say that even at the board level, fundamental leadership practices apply just like they do throughout the organization. Number one, boards actually hold themselves accountable for working productively as a team. Just like whether you work on a project team, a cross-functional team, or departmental team, we're responsible for making sure that that team that we're on is working well together to achieve our desired result. Boards do the same thing. As a matter of fact, every board has a charter, and in that charter there's a component there that says that they're responsible periodically for evaluating, having themselves evaluated to how effectively they're working as a team. That's really important. And that's where I came in. So they hold themselves accountable to ensure that they're working effectively as a team for the benefit of the company. Secondly, they're responsible for managing the CEO, managing the performance of the company through the CEO. Just like if you're a manager, you're responsible for managing the performance of members of your team, and just as your boss is responsible for managing your performance, boards, particularly the chairman, are responsible for managing that relationship with the CEO, and hopefully it's a trust-based relationship. And CEOs, by the way, number three, are responsible for managing that relationship. I've talked in the past about how we all have an unwritten responsibility to manage the relationship with our boss. They don't teach you that, but it's really important to do. And I use the quote, keep your boss's boss off your boss's back. But CEOs need to manage that relationship. I had one situation where the chairman of one board came up to me one day and he was really frustrated. He said, Mike, the CEO doesn't even return my phone calls and oftentimes doesn't even reply to my email messages. And I was like, what? So I went to talk to the CEO. I said, what's going on? He's your boss. I mean, he's the one that approves your bonus. And yeah, I know, Mike, I have to do a better job. I said, well, you need to do a better job. That's really important with your role as CEO. Well, that changed quite a bit. So very, very interesting. So boards hold themselves accountable. They manage the performance of the CEO, make sure that the CEO is putting together the right strategic direction, executing the strategy, achieving business and financial results. And a big thing today, putting together succession plans to ensure that the company is building a pipeline of highly capable leaders to sustain the company into the future. Number four, good boards and good chairmen, because of their experience, they're good coaches. They can actually be good coaches to the CEO because they've been there, they've done that before, they've got that experience and insight. So even at the board level, they can provide coaching to the CEO, which is a valuable piece of leadership they can provide. Number five, do you know what boards are really good at? They're really good at asking questions, asking good questions. They meet once a month for a full day. They got to get right at it. And they have to focus in and zoom in on the key components of the business. So they're generally pretty good at asking questions. Not to put the CEO on the defensive, but just to move things along. Good at asking questions and very good at listening asking questions and listening. Now it gets interesting, number 6 and 7. They're very good at giving feedback, and they should be, giving feedback to the CEO and the CEO team. And you've heard me mention before that, to me, feedback plus experience, those two areas are the best, most effective, most powerful forms of development, and they're free. They don't cost anything. So giving feedback is a very powerful method of development. So giving feedback to the CEO and CEO team in terms of how they're doing performance-wise. And by the way, board members are great at receiving feedback. They're very professional, very mature. They've been around. They know the value of feedback. I'll give you a couple examples. One of the boards I was advising, and I would go to the board meetings, and I noticed this one board member was very, very smart, very successful career, but he wasn't doing anything. He was really not adding any value to the board. He might ask one question during the whole day. I had to pull him aside and give him very, honest feedback, and I could see the pain look on his face. It bothered him. He didn't push back. He didn't defend. He didn't argue. And the next board meeting, which I went there, and this same guy was a completely different board director. I mean, he's asking questions, he's giving his views, and during the first break, I said, "What happened?" He said, "Mike, that feedback, I needed that feedback, and if it wasn't for that feedback, I wouldn't have changed the way I did, so that feedback was very important, thank you." I had to give feedback once to a chairman of one of the boards, and I had breakfast with him before the board meeting. I'll say his name is John, okay? And I said, "John, I have to ask you one thing to do during this meeting. Now, please take your mobile phone." I picked up my mobile phone, and please take your phone and put it in your briefcase. Because during the meetings, he was often, on WhatsApp or text messaging or stepping out to answer the phone. He was a CEO of another company, so of course he was busy. And he said, "Well, I don't do it that much." I said, "Well, you do. And I notice it, and your other board members notice it." And sure enough, this guy took his phone, put it in a briefcase, and only took out his phone during break or lunch. And everyone noticed it, and they were very grateful for that. So again, fundamental leadership principles at the board level. Hold themselves accountable for performing well as a team. They manage the performance of the CEO. They manage the relationship with the CEO as the CEO manages that relationship. They coach and mentor the CEO when they have to. They listen well. They ask good questions. They give feedback, and they receive feedback. That's at the board level. It applies throughout, no matter what level you are in the organization. That's my message for today. If you like it, thumbs up. I love the thumbs up. I even love the comments. I read them all. Thank you very much, and thank you especially for all your support during these videos. See you next time.